Was Anthony Joshua really that bad? Is he a fighter on the decline? Or was Daniel Dubois absolutely brilliant? I'm going to try and answer that question in this game film analysis. Hello everyone, welcome back to A Guy Called Henry. Guys, the dust has finally settled on that massive Daniel Dubois-Anthony Joshua fight, and we all saw what happened. Daniel Dubois was the emphatic winner. I've had a couple of days off because my channel had a copyright strike on it that wasn't actually meant to be there, but it's all resolved now. Praise be to the YouTube gods. But anyway, that's all sorted, and I'm now back with the content. I actually really didn't enjoy having the time off, and I've had so many new subscribers in the last couple of months. I want to make sure that I'm continuing to deliver high quality content for you guys. Ideally, I would have had this game film analysis out a little bit earlier, but we are where we are. And it's given me time to think about things a bit more, because I have to say that in the immediate aftermath of the fight, looking back and thinking about it now, I actually think I probably was a little bit... I don't think I gave Daniel Dubois enough credit after the fight. I did, you know, if you go back and watch 6 Things We Learned, most of the boxes are green, most of them are for things that Daniel Dubois did. But I also think that, you know, there was some adjustments that he made in this fight that I didn't notice when I watched it the first time, that I'm actually really, really impressed by. But I also want to try and measure that against, you know, how much was that down to Anthony Joshua being poor. So if you stick with me through this game film analysis, guys, I'm going to try and make that assessment, you know, how much of Joshua losing was him just going in there and seriously underperforming, and is he a fighter that's now heavily diminished, or was Dubois really just that good? Guys, don't forget to like this video, get your comments in the comments section below, let me know what you think about the adjustments Dubois made, let me know about what you think Joshua has left. If there's a rematch, do you think he can do something in that fight? Who would you like to see both men fight next, or would you like to see Joshua retire? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and without further ado, let's get into it. So before the fight, I spoke about how I saw Anthony Joshua going about the job, and I spoke about how I saw Daniel Dubois possibly being able to win this one. And I said that I thought his feet would be absolutely crucial if he was going to win, keeping his front foot close to Joshua's, pressuring Joshua, and going into that sort of bouncy rhythm. I made a reel about it before the fight where I showed you during Hrgović, when he had his best moments, it was when he was actually moving his feet. And I understand as a big heavy man, very difficult to move your feet effectively for long periods of time because it's exhausting. But when he was doing that against Hrgović, you know, that was when he was able to make Hrgović miss and make Hrgović pay. When he actually sat in front of Hrgović, that was when he was getting clocked with straight rights. And you saw in this fight against Joshua, you know, from the off, he used his feet brilliantly. And, you know, for AJ, I outlined that he's a counterpuncher, that he wants to counterpunch now more than anything. He wants to set his feet, he wants to make you miss or make you overreach, and then he wants to make you pay. And because Dubois was so good with his feet, so good at moving in and out, he made it very, very difficult for Joshua to set his own feet and launch counterpunches. Dubois nice and light on his feet, bouncing around, bouncing in and out of range. And you can see, just as he bounces in here, he comes into AJ's space, and AJ throws a jab, which does land on Dubois, but Dubois also throws at the exact same moment AJ does, and this was something he did with AJ as well during the fight. He punched when AJ punched, backing himself as the man with the more powerful jab, as we had heard before the fight, how incredibly impressive the power on his lead hand is, but also having the better chin. And I think that was also objectively observable before the fight, that it seemed like Dubois probably had a much better chin than AJ. So you can see they exchange jabs there, and it's, you know, Dubois is the one who holds his ground, and AJ's the one who takes a big step back. And if you just watch here, AJ sets his feet, and Dubois bounces into AJ's space here. But he's got a good guard, and he's throwing his jab, Dubois. And you can see with AJ, I'll just pause it here. So you can see Dubois got the feet nice and close. You can see that Dubois has good positioning of his hands. And you can see that AJ, during the fight, and this was something I was complaining about on my live stream, he just carried his lead hand extremely low, making himself very, very vulnerable. And, you know, the thing with AJ was in this fight was that he didn't react defensively quickly enough when Dubois got into his range, and that was always going to be the key, you know. Could AJ deter Dubois enough when he was trying to close the gap to stop him launching these aggressive attacks? So I'll edge it forward here, and you see Dubois lands a really nice jab on AJ's chin. AJ sort of tried to parry it, but he was too slow. And from there, AJ goes backwards. And because he's going backwards, you'll see what happens here. He takes that step back, and, you know, ideally here, he'd get into position, because if you look here, the gap between them, Dubois got quite a bit of distance to travel to get into AJ's range here. So if you're Anthony Joshua and you saw it in the Ngannou fight, that's exactly the kind of space he wants to create. He wants you to overcommit. He wants you to launch in. But once he's got himself in the right position. But what happens here, as I edge it forward, is you can see AJ takes another little step to the side, and he's trying to exit there. He doesn't actually want to stay in that position. So because he stepped to the side, he's actually squared his feet off a little bit there. You can see the position Josh was taking here. He's dipped his legs down. So he's loaded his legs up, but he's quite front foot heavy here. He's not loaded in a way where you'd be able to actually throw an effective backhand, for example. And he tries to move his head off away, but he goes straight backwards. His hands are all over the place. His hands are low. Dubois lands the jab, and then AJ is pushed back onto the ropes, and Dubois lands a really significant right hand. And then he's got him on the ropes, and from there he can unload combinations. So he steps into range there. AJ throws his jab, and it falls short. And I know that's a fairly innocuous moment, but it just creates a nerviness in AJ because he's like, oh, I'm not touching him. I'm not touching him to feel the range. And, you know, that's what I think made him quite anxious to like sort of throw more. And this happened a lot throughout the fight where AJ was just falling short. Now, there was an adjustment in this fight from Dubois that I was really, really impressed by. And it was actually something I called out as a bad tendency before the fight, but a small tweak made it a crucial piece of his defensive puzzle in this fight. So before the fight, I showed you against Hrgovic, he got hit with so many right hands. And one of the main reasons for this was not only because he was sitting in the pocket for too long, but also because he has this thing he does where he likes to defend by extending his own lead hand. His immediate instinct is to use this hand to try and throw as Hrgovic throws, or to sort of push him away. I'm not sure exactly what he's thinking, but watch, it comes straight out. And it sort of lands around the chest area of Hrgovic. But what does Hrgovic do? He just fires that arm straight over the top there. And you can see it lands clean on Dubois' head. Everybody saw this and thought, you know what? AJ's going to absolutely pep him with right hands. It's going to be a joke. But Dubois made this very small tweak. I'm going to show you it now. So look, you see here, Dubois throws his jab. And AJ looks to go over the top. What Dubois does really cleverly here, and I was talking about this before, this is a slightly different scenario, but he puts the jab out, but rather than bring it back low like Ngannou did, and AJ was able to counter over that right hand and take Ngannou out. And a lot of boxers do this. A lot of boxers bring their lead hands back low. What Dubois does is he keeps the jab hand extended because it means that you have to throw over his jab because it's touching you. It's very difficult to throw over the top of that. The reason, as I say, the reason against Hrgovic that didn't work was because you could just throw over the top of it, hit him on the chin. What he does here, and I'll show you, as that right hand comes in from AJ, you see it lands on Dubois' shoulder. And the reason for that is because Dubois has tucked his chin right behind his shoulder here. And that was the key difference. It's something Andre Ward used to do a lot, where he'd have his lead arm out and he'd just get his chin right behind the shoulder there. So anything coming over the top hits you here, it doesn't hit you here or here. So this was really, really effective in this fight. And you're going to see a few examples of this. But this was actually a really, really key factor because, you know, everybody knew how exposed Dubois was to that right hand. Everybody knew how easy it was for Hrgovic to land it. So this is something that was absolutely crucial, this very small adjustment in making sure that Dubois could defend Joshua's attacks. Something else we need to talk about is a Dubois jab. I mean, absolutely exquisite, a beautiful weapon for him in this fight, and he used it so well. Obviously a really powerful shot, but he also didn't really overcommit with it, and it was really accurate. And you can see here just this small exchange. Joshua steps into range, he feints a little bit, and Dubois, rather than, you know, he bites on the feint a little bit there, but he doesn't take a step back. He just gets his guard up or gets ready to parry the shot. He uses his right hand to parry, his backhand to parry the jab a lot in this fight. Because AJ's the one who's got the low lead hand here, you know, he's the far more hittable man in the pocket, in the space. So we'll see what happens here. You know, these are small details, but very crucial. You see where AJ's lead foot is there. Dubois got a good high guard. AJ's hands are extremely low. So he's very hittable in this position. Dubois' weight is slightly on his front foot, which is okay there because it allows him to shoot backwards if he needs to take the sting off anything AJ lands. But you'll see what AJ does here. He does a little foot feint. So he just winds his stance ever so slightly. But what he's done there is he's actually just widened his base, which means that it's actually more difficult for him to readjust his position now. And Dubois hasn't really bit that feint. He hasn't bit that foot feint. He kind of reacts a little bit, but you'll see what he does as his actual reaction to that feint, because he's seen Joshua's giving him little feints here. Dubois is not really biting any of them. He's done a really good job of, like, I'll deal with, you know, feints if I'm getting hit, but he's not really getting hit. He's kind of dealing with AJ's offense super well early on, so he doesn't need to worry about feints. He's like, oh yeah, try and hit me then, see what happens. I'll give it my best. And he was sharp with the parries as well. So anyway, AJ's extended his feet here, but what he's not done is he's not brought his back foot closer again, so now his base is wider. See what happens here. Dubois is like, okay, you can see Dubois got a much better gap between his feet there. AJ is his feet are too wide. He's kind of closed the gap, but he's not done anything when he's got there. He's not brought his back foot closer. Dubois is on balance, so Dubois, great position to throw a jab. And that's exactly what he does. He just leans in and lands the jab clean on AJ's chin. And it's small moments like that, but Dubois' balance was much better. AJ was overextending. And, when you're the counterpuncher, you don't want to be doing that. You want to be making them overextend. This is a big moment for Dubois as well, because, again, it just shows you how his feet were so good, how he took the range away from AJ. AJ, he's watching Dubois. He's watching him come in. And this is actually a good setup from Joshua here for a counterpunching position. He's got his feet in a good position. The width between them is good. He's set well. So here, he's got himself in a nice spot. He's waiting for Dubois to come into his range. So what happens here is Dubois takes a little step forward. As he takes a step forward, so does AJ. AJ extends again and sort of takes a small hop into space. But the problem here, so AJ touches Dubois' glove. Dubois parries it. Dubois parries AJ's lead hand here. And AJ's like, right, I've touched him, so I'm in range now. The problem is, again, because AJ has extended his base, he's lunged forward, his right hand's too far away from the target. He needs to get it closer to Daniel Dubois. And all Dubois here has to do here is really simple for Dubois how to defend this, because he's not overcommitting to AJ when AJ's set. AJ throws the backhand, and all Dubois has to do, and it does actually catch Dubois a little bit, this one, but all Dubois has to do is take a step backwards. And that's what he does. He just moves backwards out of range. And actually, if you're AJ, that's the moment where you go for him again. I think one of the big problems in this fight was AJ was looking for single shots, but Dubois brings his feet close together here. You can see this position here. He's in midair. His feet are off the ground. There's a fair gap between his legs are quite close, so he's not in a punching position there. If you're AJ, that's when you rush him with the next attack. But he doesn't do that. He just sets, and that was the thing. He was too obsessed with setting up that perfect counterpunch in this fight, to the point where, even when he did start throwing, he was just throwing these big single shots. And I think, because he'd had success doing that other fights, it's a comfortable place for him to be. He doesn't have to worry about what's coming. He doesn't have to worry about his stamina too much, because there's single big power shots. You're looking for the knockout. When he wasn't able to set them up, he just started getting really rash. And what he really needed to do was try and get to the second half of the fight when Dubois would inevitably slow down a bit, because he was putting a lot of work into those early rounds. But he didn't do that. Now, this little sequence here is important because it kind of gave us a little preview of how the first knockdown would happen, and the one that essentially changed the course of the whole fight, because AJ was just not really with it for a lot of the time after that. But I actually have to say, when I did my fighter ratings before this fight, I didn't give Dubois the best rating for IQ, but I thought he was brilliant at downloading information there and finding his opportunities. So you see here, Dubois jabs, AJ parries. And Dubois sort of falling in a little bit here, but AJ's on the move, so again, he's not at too much risk, Dubois, of being counterpunched. AJ takes another step back, and it's this position here where, AJ really doesn't want to touch the ropes. And this is the moment here, you see, he gets to here, and he's like, I'm going to exit this way. And the benefit of exiting that way is obviously you stay away from Dubois' backhand, which is here, so Dubois' rock backhand will have this sort of angle on AJ. And also, you can slip outside the jab, which is there. So AJ steps across. Now, the issue with this is he's in absolutely no position to throw a punch here. He's stepping over to the side. His hands are low. There's no protection. And what AJ has underestimated about Dubois is his ability to close this gap with speed. So you see here, AJ just very nonchalantly just steps around to the side, and they reset. And you will see how this is a prelude to what's to come. Here it is again, the same position. AJ's heading towards the ropes. He doesn't want that. He wants to exit. He wants to exit this way. And rather than just following him, this time Dubois throws a jab. And you see AJ, what he does here is he extends his lead hand so he can sort of use Dubois' shoulder to create a lane that he can get himself into safely. So he gets his head around the outside of Dubois' jab, and he moves off to the side, as you can see. As you can see here, he moves around Dubois, and that's fine. But the key here is when he's moved around, his hands are like this. And he's done it at a fairly lethargic pace, once again. And just off the back of that, once again, AJ, he's got himself into a decent foot position, decent setup to throw a counterpunch. His hands are loose, a bit low, defensively not a great position, but he's active. Dubois' got this high guard. He's watching AJ through that. He sees the opportunity to hit AJ on the chin because he's got his hands down. AJ's looking to make Dubois miss and make him pay. This is, when you are fighting this way, if you're AJ, you want a slower pace, like what Ngannou gave him. You want that slow pace. You don't want someone who's constantly throwing from close range. You just don't have time to relax and read things. But anyway, AJ's probably rushing the the search for the counterpunching opportunity a bit because Dubois is putting so much heat and pressure on him. I think, you know, he really needed to get through the first few rounds of this fight and let things slow down a bit and settle a bit. And also, he had to give Dubois more to think about. Something he did better in that Ngannou fight was the jabs to the body. Didn't really see that in this fight at all. Anyway, so Dubois is coming with attack here. AJ does his dip. This is the exact dip he did against Ngannou. He dips his leg straight down. He braces himself for the jab. You know, he actually wants the jab just to slightly touch him on the face because then the opportunity to shoot over the top of the jab is there once it comes back low. What happens here? The jab goes past AJ's head, which, you know, if you're AJ, you're thinking perfect. He hasn't even touched me. I'm within his range now. But what Dubois does well, again, I showed you before, he keeps that arm extended. And more importantly, to make this effective, he tucks his chin right behind his shoulder. So the trajectory of AJ's punch, you know, there's nothing for him to hit. So if I move it forward here, you'll see. He throws it over the top and it just kind of nestles in the shoulder and neck area. It doesn't land with any kind of power because also you can see that Dubois' lead arm has just taken the sting off it as well because he's sort of throwing around it. It's having to push through Dubois' lead arm. So once again, you know, AJ's tried to counter and he's not been able to. And then you can see Dubois now, because he's inside, because AJ's hands are low, he's in a position to throw back at AJ. He's in his space. AJ manages to get his defense up sort of, but it still catches him around the side of the head there. It's actually a fairly decent hook from Dubois, sneaky right hook. Hands low again from AJ, Dubois' hands high, because, you know, AJ will have seen those tapes of Hrgovic and thought, this guy's so easy to hit. I just need to set him up for one big shot. It might happen early. I'd like it to happen early. If you're an anxious fighter, which I think AJ might be, you know, you want things done. You don't want to be having to go through it like that. Not questioning his heart at all. He sticks it to the bitter end, but, you know, maybe you're a little bit more rash with the way you throw and the patience to set things up just isn't there. So, again, now this is interesting because AJ here, what he likes to do is feint the jab low and then throw high. The difference with the Ngannou knockout was he'd been jabbing to the body the whole fight and giving Ngannou something else to worry about. So when he threw those feints low or when he threw high, Ngannou's worrying about the body jab. So, you know, you're not expecting that right hand to come. Because it was so publicized before the fight about Dubois' defense against the right hand, you know, he would have been very ready for the reality that this guy's going to try and hit me with right hands. So you see here, AJ feints low with the jab. Dubois does not bite it at all. You know, he's willing to take a jab to the body because it's not as bad as taking a right hand to the head, basically. And, you know, Dubois' guard, again, it's super, super open. You know, if AJ was willing to just step in and commit to a 1-2 straight down the pipe, it might be more effective. But anyway, he throws that feint low and then he goes high with the right hand again. And look, you see what Dubois does. He just extends that jab hand again onto AJ's shoulder and it stops the right hand coming over as fast, as powerfully. And again, look where his chin is. It's tucked behind his shoulder and his arm. So watch it come forward and AJ's right hand doesn't even land this time because Dubois is able to just push it off. And this defense worked really, really well. Again, I want to show this because these little bounces Dubois did, they were so effective in making AJ reset his feet, and then that gave Dubois opportunities because, you know, if you are bouncy, if you're feinting, it makes AJ reposition his feet to, you know, go again, right, how I need to get my feet ready, I need to get ready for that single counter shot. So Dubois, he does the little feints, he does the little jabs, he bounces the feet, it makes AJ go, I need to reposition my feet now, and that's when Dubois can go, as I say. So look, AJ, little jab there, Dubois just takes his head off the center line. AJ steps closer. He's in range still. His feet are in a decent position here. If Dubois goes with the backhand, you know, AJ's in a good position to counter, but Dubois, just a little feint. It makes AJ indecisive. It makes him move back again. And then you see what Dubois does here. Just bounce, bounce, jab. You know, light on his feet. You know, his feet are not set at all. He's in a good mode there where he can absorb stuff and he can throw things back. That little bounce is so crucial for the way he boxes. Again here, AJ throws a jab. Dubois just parries it with his backhand. And then, you know, he doesn't stay in the same position. He doesn't stay still because that's what Hrgovic did. He touched him and then he'd throw the 1-2. What Dubois does there, what does Dubois do there? Sorry, he takes a step back and then bouncy, bouncy, bouncy. And AJ's followed him, throwing the jab again. This one actually does connect with Dubois. And that's actually quite decent from Joshua there. He followed him in, he threw the jab. Something he didn't do very much in this fight. He kind of wanted to keep the space, and I understand that. He's a counterpuncher. So AJ lands that one. Dubois pulls back. What does Dubois do? Bouncy, 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 bouncy. Because now, once again, AJ's second guessing the range. He's not comfortable with knowing where Dubois is in front of him. He hasn't got the control distance down. It's something that Dubois did so well in this fight. As I said before, he controlled when they were engaging. Once again here, AJ tries another setup of the backhand. This is all in fairly quick succession, guys. So I think this is what frustrated and worried AJ, was the fact he wasn't able to land the right hand with any kind of ease. So little double feint there from AJ, brings his feet closer, and Dubois throws his lead hand. Again, it's a defensive move to throw out lead hand because he knows the right hand is coming. And the issue here with AJ is, you know, when his right hand's effective, it's got to be close to the target. You know, his backhand is so far away right now. So if you look, the stance AJ's been forced into here, super wide to try and get to Dubois. You know, when you're like that, you know, it's very difficult to get your bounce back if you get hit, for one. For two, his right hand is it's just really too far away to have any meaningful impact on Dubois because his back foot's all the way back there. He needs to bring that lead foot and then follow it with the back foot. Dubois throws the lead hand out, and you'll see again what happens here. AJ comes over the top. Dubois keeps the jab hand there again. AJ comes over the top, and it does hit Dubois' face, but it's like the sting's completely gone by the time it gets there because it's so far out and it wraps around Dubois' arm, so it just doesn't have any sting on it, any impact, and it just worked perfectly. So see here, Dubois bouncy again. He steps towards AJ. He gets his front foot nice and close, and you know AJ's not comfortable there. He doesn't want to be in that position with Dubois. He's not set for a counter shot right now, so he moves backwards. And Dubois feints, and AJ takes another step backwards. And you'll see here, watch. The second that this foot comes off the floor and moves backwards to get away from the onrushing Dubois, the second Dubois decides this is my moment to go. So that lifts, and Dubois is like, right, I can actually take a chance here. So watch. Look at Dubois' foot positioning here. This is what AJ wants him to do. He wants him to overreach. He wants him to overextend. He wants him to take chances so that he's there to be countered. And, you know, he's lunging here. Don't get it twisted. Like, this is a calculated risk from Dubois. The problem for AJ is he's doing it at the exact moment he doesn't want him to do it. You know, AJ's feet, look here, the feet are super close together. You know, he's not set to throw big shots. He's not set to slip. He's just trying to, like, reposition himself in the ring. And that's exactly when Dubois decides it's the right moment to go. It's very similar to the way that Bivol boxed Canelo, where, you know, Canelo, he does these tricks to get himself into range, so it's all about the timing of when he's off balance. That's when Bivol would attack him. It's a different style, but similar concept. This is when Dubois risks it, and he hits AJ clean on what's actually the neck with a jab. He's brought himself into range, and from here, you know, AJ's got to cover up because Dubois was so strong up close, so strong in the clinches, and you can see nothing lands too clean outside of that jab there, but a very telling moment. He decides when they engage. He decides when I'm going to take my chances. It's when he can't actually damage me. Once again, here, look at the way AJ's moving his feet. So he steps outside, and then he's sort of stepping back, again, lethargically, slowly. He then sets his feet, but the problem here for him is that he set his feet when Dubois is already in punching range for Dubois. So it's a very short distance to read what Dubois does and to throw a counter. And for Dubois, this is just an easy, I don't have to commit that hard here. I don't have to do that much. You know, this is perfect for the Dubois jab. He's in range. His jab is fast and powerful because he's got, I've always shown in my analysis of Dubois, he's got that very square stance. So he's got more rotation on that jab. There's a lot of power on it. You know, you're not going to mind committing to that if you're Dubois. Especially because, you know, your defense has been working well against that right hand as well. So he commits, he throws the jab, and to be honest, AJ doesn't even hold his feet here to counter. He actually takes a step back, which means by the time Dubois reaches him, you know, his feet are not in the best position. You know, the gap, it's not brilliant. There's no real balance there. Dubois lands that jab. And once again, what does AJ do? He wants to get away from moving backwards, so he wants to come this way. He wants to come this way. He wants to get away from the ropes. He doesn't want to be going backwards. So what does he do? He extends the lead hand, and he wants to use that again to create that sort of lane so he can get around Dubois' jab and get away from Dubois and exit out into the ring over here. As I move it forward, a little bit of foreboding here. You see Dubois, you know, he looks to throw the backhand here, and the writing is sort of on the wall a little bit. Not able to this time because Joshua manages to get around. gets around there. And in fact, Dubois probably could have got him there, but he decides not to go for it on this occasion. But I think that's probably the moment where Dubois actually noticed that flaw for the first time, like properly, like, I didn't commit with my right hand there, but actually he's not moving that quickly. I think I can get him there. So if he does that again, be sure I'll go for it. And look, guys, these are the margins at this level of boxing, you know. This is a moment here where, look, that's the perfect counter-punching gap. Perfect. You know, the lead feet, there's enough gap between them that, you know, Dubois is not in AJ's punching range right now. From this position here, if Dubois commits, AJ's got time and space to read what he does. So what happens? Dubois commits with the jab. Takes one small step, but there's still an okay little space between them. They're pretty close. He's definitely in range from there, but still enough space for AJ to read what he's going to do. He's feinted with the jab, and also, as I say, he's feinted with the jab once there, so, you know, AJ can kind of expect another jab to come, because Dubois likes to throw that double jab. So he reads the second double jab. AJ pulls his head off to the side there, and he goes to throw the counter uppercut, which Dubois braces himself for. And to be honest, AJ is unlucky that doesn't hit clean. You can see it goes just in front of Dubois' face. And, you know, a part of that is to do with the fact that Dubois dips his chin in there, so it's not easy to hit it, but very, very close to landing a big counter right uppercut there. And you can see the conditions that AJ wants to throw those punches, so very close there with that counter. And this sequence here is the undoing of AJ in this fight. This is what set it all, the wheels in motion rolling.
Starting to faint a little bit more now, Joshua.
You know, that's right off that moment there where AJ's finally had a bit of success with a little uppercut. Didn't quite land, but he'll have felt, okay, I set my feet there. I was that close to landing a significant punch. So, see here, they're you know, okay distance apart. AJ's in a decent position. Dubois is in a decent position. You know, similar to AJ, you know, Dubois is also in a good space here to be able to avoid a shot. So AJ commits, well, he doesn't commit at all. He does that little feint. This is kind of this new position that he's taking up, and it's actually something similar to what you see Martin Bakole doing. It's that sort of rainbow position I've described, where you kind of bow your arms and it makes them loose. It means you can throw with speed and power, something that George Foreman used to do. And AJ likes to sort of throw that lead hand low and then go high. So you know if he goes with that lead hand to about there, loose, he's probably going to chuck one over the top, which is exactly what he does. And Dubois does that jab defense again that I've described. He extends it this time. Because it's actually a hook from AJ, Dubois also dips his knees and gets his head underneath it, which is really, really good defensive work from Dubois. Dubois instantly throws the counter right hand, which misses as well. The difference here, and they're both off balance here. You can see it's a bit scrappy from both of them. Because Dubois has downloaded that information before that I showed you, when he throws that jab when AJ is closer to the ropes, AJ wants to exit. Or just when Dubois is closing on him, AJ wants to exit out this way, and he knows what AJ does now. AJ is going to extend that jab hand, which he's done both times now, and he's going to move off to that side. And in that last moment, you saw Dubois take that information, and he analysed it. He saw what AJ does. He saw there was an opportunity to throw out a hand, even though in that instance he didn't commit. But Dubois just takes a little step to the side. AJ starts to exit here, and Dubois, what he does here, it's so clever what he does with the feet. He steps this way to make AJ go this way, because that's what he wants him to do. But the second that Dubois' foot touches the outside, he steps across AJ. So that foot lands to the outside to get AJ moving to AJ's right. He then instantly brings this foot here to cut off that lane. And from there, he knows that AJ's hand is going to be low. He knows that AJ's hand is going to be somewhere around there. Or, sorry, he knows AJ's hand is going to be around here and possibly around here. It's going to be low is the point. It's not going to be up at his chin. So what does he do? He commits with the right hand. AJ's jab comes out, tries to step to the side. He's too slow with that movement. If AJ really drives off here, he could really push himself and he could get himself over to the side. But instead what happens is he doesn't move quickly enough. He just sort of falls in front of Dubois. Dubois' lead foot is pretty close there to AJ's. I mean, AJ's foot is there, so he's within his range. And he lands that clean right hand right on the chin of AJ. And, you know, this is what it means when you say boxing is a sport of inches. Because AJ, all he has to do is push off slightly harder there, and that right hand misses, and he's safe. But he doesn't, and he gets hit clean. So I've shown you what the tactics that were in play in round one, how Dubois took the fight away from AJ with really effective stuff. I'm now just going to show you the next really significant knockdown. I'm going to skip the ones that look more like slips. But rest assured, those tactics were there throughout the fight. I'll show you this and I'll show you the finish. Because I think it's really important just to see how, you know, Dubois was able to land those really telling blows that stopped AJ getting back into the fight.
Step in with a big... His gloves touched the ground. The referee didn't do anything about it. It's down again.
So before the fight, people talked about Dubois' jab a lot, but Shane McGuigan said before the fight, you know, Dubois' former coach, someone who I hold in the highest regard, Dubois' left hook is actually his probably his best punch. It's his most natural, most flowing, powerful punch. And you can see here, it looks like it's barely even got anything on it when it lands on AJ here, but a brilliant shot, you know. So we see here, at this point, you know, AJ's legs are not what they were at the start of the fight. And you see AJ takes a step in, Dubois parries the jab, and then he throws the right hand over the top as expected, and Dubois just ducks under it. Because AJ's got this habit of overcommitting with the right hand, you know, he's not good at, you know, if he misses with that right hand, getting out of range, doing something defensively or bringing the hand back to his chin.
Scraping right. And Joshua's hurt.
What often happens with AJ, his weight ends up on his front foot there. So he's off balance, he's leaning forward, very, very vulnerable in that position. Your weight's pushing down over your front foot, very vulnerable position. It's very difficult to get your balance there and get yourself into a safe position. So he's missed. Pivoting back round here on that front foot, all the weight's on the front foot there. He's pivoting his leg back round to try and get his balance back to there. As he's doing that, Dubois just naturally lets that left hook come out. And he catches AJ again, clean on the chin, which sets him going. Twists his ankle there, which is bloody painful. Probably not as painful as getting chinned by Dubois, but you know what I mean. So why does AJ have success here initially? Well, their feet are close together, and it's the first time in a while where when they're in this phase, Dubois doesn't start bouncing, and that'll be because he's getting more tired, guys. So, you know, really AJ should look to just get through the rounds, and, you know, as Dubois slowed down, when the fight more suited AJ's pace, you know, try and turn it then into a counter-punching match. But, you know, Dubois sat in AJ's range here, so AJ can go with the right hand, and, you know, the key here is, you know, Dubois doesn't get his lead hand out in time to do his normal defense. It's moving at great velocity, great speed, and AJ just throws it straight up the middle and lands it clean on Dubois' chin. Dubois' got a great chin though, and he eats it, and he just skips himself out of range. But, you know, the reason that worked there for AJ was because he threw it straight up the middle. You know, he didn't try and go over the top of the jab. He didn't do it in a position where Dubois was able to read him and throw his own jab. He's standing there in front of him, flat-footed, high guard. Dubois' high guard is leaky, we all know that. He still has these vulnerabilities. What happens next? AJ, you know, he gets carried away because he's like, I'm back in, I've got to take my chance. You know, Dubois will notice this whole time that AJ's dropping his lead hand, and you can see, you know, every shot AJ's thrown there, his lead hand has been low, and Dubois will notice this. And, you know, the thing is, guys, a straight is always going to beat a bent arm shot to the chin, to the point of contact. He goes to throw, you know, he's right in front of Dubois. Dubois' hands are high, AJ's hands are low. AJ goes to throw that uppercut, and you see the position he's put himself into here is absolutely catastrophic. Low hand, can't even see his other hand, it's that low. And the distance for Dubois to get his hand to AJ's chin is very, very short. And AJ's fully committed, he's throwing it, and he just gets caught right on the chin. And he goes down. And that's all she wrote, folks. So, you know, long story short, I've shown you there, mostly in that first round, and almost entirely in that first round, aside from those two significant knockdowns and knockouts, how Dubois was able to nullify AJ, and it was, you know, making sure there was no space, making sure he was very, very good and quick with his jab, attacking AJ when AJ was on the move, when he wasn't set to counter, anticipating AJ's counter right hand, because that's what we all knew he wanted to throw, using that jab defense, the small tweak where he tucked his chin in behind his shoulder. You know, I wonder if AJ will look back at this and think, if I could just be more defensively astute in the opening sort of 5-6 rounds, could I take him late? If I went in there and if I came in a bit lighter, if I used more of a boxing style, could I take him late? Maybe. What do I think though? What's my verdict? You know, do I think that this was Dubois Brilliance, or do I think this is AJ on the slide? I think it's a little bit of both, but what I want to say is I think it's predominantly Dubois Brilliance. I think that Dubois' style, and possibly in, you know, throughout his entire career, Dubois might have been the wrong guy for AJ. He just might not. You know, styles make fights, and he might have just been the wrong guy for AJ to take on. So I don't have a problem with saying that. I think that Dubois, the way he boxes, it really is the opposite of what AJ wants. He's high volume, he's all action, quick feet, big puncher, you know, very difficult heavyweight to deal with. And everyone's going to have a hard time with Dubois now, for sure. So, you know, and AJ's not that he doesn't feel comfortable in there at the best of times, and he needed to be patient, he needed to be comfortable early with his defense, knowing that he could get into those later rounds. So, you know, I think Dubois Brilliance, tactically perfect, absolutely nailed it. Performance was brilliant. I think AJ will probably look at it and see a few moments where he could have done things a lot better. Do I see significant decline in AJ? Honestly, watching it back, I see less decline than I thought I did when I watched it live. I just think Dubois was that good. But what I would say is that I think AJ didn't always have the best chin anyway. I think it was a very average chin. You know, probably a good chin, like good enough to be on world level. But I think that some of his punch resistance has gone. I think that first right hand from Dubois was a big one. AJ's chin was right in the air, but I think he would have recovered a bit quicker before. And then throughout the fight, you could just see he was getting really hurt by Dubois. I felt like it's not a desire thing. His heart is in it. He wants to be in there, AJ, but I just don't think he's as resilient as some heavyweights. You know, look at Bakole, he'll eat clean punches. I think Parker's got a very good chin. You know, look at the punishment Hrgovic took from Dubois. So I think that AJ physically may have declined slightly in terms of his resistance, but, you know, Eddie Hearn said after the fight, oh, AJ, you know, AJ is somebody who doesn't have that many miles on the clock. But to be honest with you guys, I don't think I really agree with that. You know, he's done years and years of hard sparring in the gym. Even recently, he said he was having more hard sparring than ever. So I'm not too sure about that. Having watched this again, I think if AJ wants to have another crack at this fight, fair play to him. I do think he can fight better in a rematch. I still think the outcome will be the same. And I think that he could potentially get very, very badly hurt, even if he's more competitive in the fight, because this probably took something out of him, this performance, where he got damaged, very badly damaged. I just wonder if it's worth it. I don't think it's worth it personally, but I'm not a professional heavyweight champion. It's up to AJ at the end of the day. It's his decision. I think if he is going to get back in there, maybe he should get in there with a more diminished fighter who maybe stylistically suits him a bit better first. I said shot after the fight, maybe a Deontay Wilder. I'd even rather see him fight a Zhang, who's got low punch output and who he can probably counter a bit more. And AJ could even set the pace if he wants in that fight. So there's many style matchups that are better for AJ than this one. So if he wants to have another fight, fair play to him. If he gets the win, then maybe he'll have another one with Dubois. I don't know. But I would be all for him retiring also. Anyway, guys, that's my summary. And I think Dubois deserves all the credit in the world for that brilliant performance on world level. But guys, if you've enjoyed this one, please subscribe to the channel. Please like the video. Get your comments in the comments section below. What did you think about this fight? Do you think that AJ can perform better in a rematch? Do you even want to see him in another fight, let alone the rematch? And thank you for sticking with me to the end, guys. And as I always say, on to the next one.